costing is so important, obviously, to what you're doing and making sure that you're making a profit and you're not underselling your garments. That's, as a new designer, that's always the first thing I look at when someone hires me on is to make sure that they're costing their garment right. Because if you, I'm not sure why the volume isn't up. Can you turn your volume up? So let me see. I'm just going to check my audio. Can you hear me any better? Sorry about that. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me. I have my volume all the way up, so I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, well, if you can hear me okay, that's great. If not, you can pay attention to the slides and that'll run you through what we're doing here as well. So the costing is, and this again, it all goes back to that template that we've sent you guys. So the costing is the cost of your material, the cost of labor, and the cost of doing business. So all three of these things have to be worked into the price that you're selling your garment for, obviously. And the first way we're going to figure out is your cost of material. And again, this is taken directly off of that Excel spreadsheet that you guys have. We have the cost of your trims and the cost of your fabric. We've got hang tag. I have in there 50 cents because usually that's about the price a hang tag costs. You don't want to be spending a whole lot on your hang tag because it's going to affect your bottom line. Your care label, 36 cents. That's even a little high. If you're just doing like a black and white care label, it can be as low as 8 cents per care label. If it's just like a straightforward black and white label, nothing special, no frills, it can be as low as 8 cents. And your brand label, 52 cents. Again, that can vary, that can be less, it can be more, but you don't want your labels and your hang tags to be too expensive. So that's why I put these numbers in here to just give you a roundabout. The cost of delivery is the cost of packaging. So some designers will have a really nice box or tissue paper custom. So this can be expensive. You know, those nice boxes can cost upwards to $5, and that's a lot. So if it's part of your branding, I personally, this is just me, am against spending a whole lot on that package. But that's because I know, like when I get a garment and it's in a really nice box, or I get like a free tote bag that's printed and high quality, I know that I actually paid for that. I know that that is actually in the cost of the pair of pants that I just bought. Whereas I would have preferred to have those pants be $5 cheaper and then have the option to buy that tote bag. But again, that is just me. There's lots of people out there that are huge on packaging and that want to spend the money on having that nice box or tote bag. So we add all of those numbers together, and then you add a 10% cushion. So throughout this costing, there will be cushions. And at the end, I'll talk about if you want to lower that cushion from 10% to 5%. But we don't want you to be at bare bones of just the cost of the materials, just the cost of labor, and that's the cost of your garment. Because there are times that the fabric can come and maybe the fabric has some damage and you're not able to use all the fabric, or maybe your factory is sewing your goods and some of them got some of them got damaged somehow. So if you're bare bones and something like that happens, it can really affect you financially. So if you have a little bit of cushion in there, then it'll help you get through the unexpected. Maybe labels got shipped to you and FedEx loses them and FedEx doesn't reimburse you for that. There's so many things that can happen. So we want to avoid being completely bare bones in your cost. So that's why we add in this cushion into your cost of materials. And then the same thing, your cost of labor. So sometimes factories charge for a cut fee and it's different than the sewing. So you'll want to have a line for your cutting and for your sewing. Again, I add that 10% labor. And then we've got the cost of doing business. So this would be your photo shoots, your marketing, your if you're hiring a consultant, the overall fee of having your patterns and your samples made for that first production. So just your overall cost of doing business also has to be built in there. And the way we got this was, it was the cost of materials plus the cost of the labor, and then it's 10% of that number. So if you'll see from the last two slides, it's $19.80 here, and then it's $6.60 here. So that's going to be $26.40. 10% of that is $2.64. And then from here, we've got the cost of materials, the cost of labor, the cost of doing business. All three of those added together gives you $29.04. So this is going to be the total cost of your goods. From the total cost of your goods, we now determine your wholesale and your retail price. And the way we do that is you multiply this total cost, and we'll talk about how much that multiplication should be to your wholesale price. This can vary, and the reason being, back in the day, it used to be, back 10, 15 years ago, all designers, like they were talking on that panel, did wholesale. So that meant the only way that you got sales was to sell to a boutique or a department store. You only got that wholesale price. You weren't having access to this retail price. Well, that is no longer the case. Many, if not all designers also sell retail. So that means that you'll get that $87.12 opposed to only getting that $43. So it used to be you'd take the $29 and you'd multiply that by 2 or 3. And then to get your wholesale to the retail, that's times 2. That has to be times 2. So no matter what, you cannot change that number to less than times 2, because what happens is maybe you're not going to do wholesale right now, but eventually you'll have a boutique or you'll have a really good department store or somebody that wants to sell your product wholesale. They're going to expect it and demand it at half of what you're selling it at retail. And you want to make sure that that number is still a number that you're able to profit off of. Because if it's lower than your cost of goods, then you're not going to make any money. And in fact, you're going to lose money. So you want to be sure that you have a wholesale price built up into there. So the total cost, so in this formula, your total cost of that $29 is multiplied by 1.5 and all the way up to 3. Like I said, if you are only doing wholesale, that is your only way of selling, that's the only way you're going to get any profit, you want to be closer to that 3 multiplied by 3 number. But if you are going to be selling wholesale just maybe 5% of your sales, 10% of your sales, you can go down to 1.5. And I've even seen designers go lower than that, knowing that their wholesale accounts are only going to be for branding, meaning you're only taking wholesale accounts for brand awareness, not so much for profit. You're going to get into stores so people can go back to your website and Google you and find a way to buy you direct, or you're selling through a third-party application online, but you're really generating traffic back to your website to sell that retail. So it's more of like a marketing tactic than it would be a profiting part of your business. And then the wholesale price. So this is what I was talking about. Wholesale price to the retail price must be times 2. And if you're going to be offering free shipping to your customers, guess what? Free shipping is never free shipping. It's also built into that cost. So if you're giving your customers free shipping, you'll add $5 into the cost of into your retail price so that that's also covered. So that is the formula for the costing. And then this is the spreadsheet. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to my spreadsheet. Give me 1 second here. so that we can go through it together. And it's in Excel, it's not as pretty, but it gets the job done. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the questions open for you guys. So if you have any questions here, we can make sure to be answering those. So down here at the bottom is where you would put in your fabrics. So let's just say we have Gordon fabric. I'm sorry, the self fabric is going to be Tencel. I'm going to change. Sorry for that. So Tencel is your fabric. You want to put in here Gordon or whoever the vendor is, wherever you're getting that fabric. The item number 4567. Again, I'm just making these up, but this is your bill of materials. So it's also called your BOM, but bill of materials or BOM. You'll put your color in here. You'll put the width of your fabric, which we talked about earlier. And let's say this is $12 a yard. And then you have your yield. So your yield is how much fabric is used in your garment. I'm going to say for this, we're going to make a dress. So let's say 1.5. So you'll see that once you put that number in, the $18 pops directly up to the cost of the fabric and trim. If you have a zipper in there, that'll be in the trim. So let's say zipper. And that's from, trying to think of a zipper vendor, totally blanking, Panda. And that's number 125. Color is also black. There isn't a width, but it'll be 9-inch long. And let's say it's 125. And you use one of them in your garment. So that's 125, and then you'll see that this pops back up into your fabric and trim cost over here. And then for your hang tag, like I said, you don't want to spend any more than $1 on your hang tag, in my opinion. Maybe it's very important, you need a fancy hang tag, but let's just put 50 cents in there. Your care label, let's assume you're using just a regular black and white care label. We'll put 8 cents in there. Your brand label, let's say it's a woven, maybe it has a few different colors in there, so I'll put 86 cents in there. And your delivery cost, we're just going to use a poly bag. That's it. So just a poly bag in there. So then you'll see that's bringing the cost to $22.79. The cut and sew price for a dress, I'm going to put, it's not a very complicated dress, so I'm going to say $16. So you'll see with the current formulas here, that's going to retail the dress at $177. Now, like I said, all of these prices are built in, or all of the formulas are built into here. And right now we have the total cost to the wholesale is ×2. So the total cost here is 44, to the wholesale is 88, to the retail then is ×2, so it's 177. So that's going to be our retail price. Now, you might punch in your numbers and say, oh my gosh, this is way, way, way too expensive. I can never sell my garment for that much. One, you want to keep in mind when you're first doing your production here, you're doing a smaller number. So maybe you're only doing 50 units, 100 units, but once you're doing 1,000 units, you'll be more profitable and your price will stay the same. So let's say once you start doing 100 units, this price for cut and sew drops down to $9. And you'll see that drops the retail price from 177 all the way down to 143. However, if you've already sold that garment at $177, I would suggest keeping it that and having your profit margin then grow as you're producing more garments. So what you can do Right now we have this profit, these cushions set up at 10%. You can set those up at 5%. So that will lower these numbers. And again, each garment is different. So I set up right here, let's say I was like, I can't sell this garment for more than 150. So I went ahead and just changed in the formulas that 5% in the total cost of material, the labor, and the cost of doing business. So I made these 5% instead of 10%. I would really love to see you guys not take out all of your cushions because, like I said, you want to be profitable, right? You want to make profit. Otherwise, why are you doing this? I mean, I don't know who would want to have a business where you're paying your customers to buy your garments, but maybe you do. I don't know. But I would really, really like to see you guys keep at least 5% in these cushions. And then when we've got your total cost, the total cost to wholesale, right now it's ×2. So let's say we bring that down to 1.5. So that's bringing our number all the way down to $121 from the original 177. So you'll see how you can kind of play around with these numbers. Like for example, if I was making a dress and a top and they're the same, only one's longer than the other, you're going to make a lot more money off of that dress than you are a top, just because dresses sell more than tops do. So there's some garments that you'll be able to hold a higher cushion, a higher wholesale total cost to wholesale number. And then there's other garments like tops that aren't going to be as profitable. So you might have to change those numbers a little. All right. So now I wanted to open this up for questions. Do you guys have questions? How do you factor in the product development costs like pattern making and samples? They are included in the cost of your garment. So patterns and samples, especially for your first round, are really expensive. Let's say that your pattern costs $200, your sample costs $200, and you're only making 200 garments. So what you would have to do to cover that is add $2 to each garment to be able to cover that cost of pattern and sample making. And the idea is in that cost of doing business, in that 5% or 10%, that's where you're paying that off. So let's just say I know that I spent $400 on my pattern and sample for this specific garment. And then I go to seeing that my cost of doing business is $1.93. So I'd have to make about 200 dresses to pay off that pattern and sample. And if I'm like, that's not enough, then you can go ahead and change this number back to 10%. And that's going to be $3.86. So it's 100 garments then to pay off that $400, which is, you know, more likely on to, if you're planning to do $100. But the thing is, the pattern samples, the initial overhead of starting your company, you more than likely won't pay off in your very first season. I always tell the designers to plan for 3 seasons to pay off the overhead and start breaking a profit. It depends too. Like if you're bootstrapping it and investing slowly as you go, it can take, I'd say, about 3 seasons to pay off that initial overhead of starting to do a business. So when you're sitting down with your budget, and all of this gets tied in together, but when you're sitting down to do your budget in the very beginning, you want to plan for your first season pattern and samples, your first season production, and your second season samples, because you're not going to get paid from that production until after you need to have those second season designs made. So preparing yourself for all of that, that's not the only way. You know, if you've got 1 season to make it or break it, you put all the money in production, you sell that, and then when you sell that production is when you start developing your new season. I've seen designers do that. But yeah, to pay off the patterns and samples, and then that second season, you'll want to use a lot of those patterns for your second season, right? So maybe you had a garment that had sleeves on it and you'll take the sleeves off, and that'll be for spring. Maybe you'll have a garment that you'll keep the same body, but you'll make it longer or shorter. So your pattern making will become less expensive on your second season as well. the idea is the first season, you'll never be as profitable as you will the second season, third season, and even the fourth season. So I hope that answers your question. But directly, your pattern and your samples are your overhead of doing business. And that's where the cost of doing business comes in. And that's where that number is paid off. All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Were you guys able to go through this costing template so that it makes sense? Anyone else have any questions? No questions? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. We just have this template. It's made pretty simple. The most important part is, you know, to be keeping this template valid from the beginning. So if you go in saying, I'm going to make a dress and it's going to be $100, while you're developing that dress, you'll be wanting to plug these numbers in to make sure that that fabric is going to work for the retail price that you want to have, that you want to sell for. So if you're going to make a dress for $150, you'll know that if you buy fabric for $20 a yard versus fabric for $12 a yard, what that's going to do to your retail and your wholesale price. How much do factories typically charge per garment? Where does that number go? So factories, and what's the difference between the cut and sew price? So factories is your labor cost. Factories domestically do not, I don't know any factories domestically that supply materials. If you're working with factories offshore, they will say for everything, including your pattern, your sample, the fabric, the zippers, the cut and sew of your labor, it's going to cost you 50 bucks. So when you do it offshore, they'll give you this all-in price. But if you're working domestically, you're the one that's sourcing your fabric and your hang tag and your zippers, and your factory is only cutting and sewing. So that is the labor cost here. So the labor cost of the cut and sew is that $16. That's what the factory's charging you to cut and sew your production. Does that answer your question? And then the difference between the cut and sew, some factories do not cut, they only sew, which means you'll have to then take it to a cutter. So the cut price and the sew price are sometimes separate. So that's why I put cutting and sewing, because when you're working with a factory or you're generating quotes, you'll want to be sure that that includes the cutting and the sewing. You don't want to find out later they said $16. Oh, but that didn't include the cutting. You didn't ask me that question. Cutting's another $25. So that's why I split that up, so you guys will know to ask if they do cutting and sewing and if there's an additional fee. Can you explain the cost of wholesale for branding purposes? So for wholesale, it's like I said, it's like a marketing tactic of, I'm in, well, I was gonna say Barney's, but Barney's is closed. But back in the day, Barney's was a really good retailer, and it meant that you were a substantial brand. So for you to put on your website, sold in Barney's, it was good for your branding. And you could say, you could have a pop-up shop at a local boutique, maybe that people love shopping at. So again, you can have the pop-up, you can promote it on your Instagram, and then that store will then promote you on their website, on their Instagram, in their store. So it's branding and it's marketing and it's getting your awareness of your brand out. So that's why I was saying this wholesale is more so for marketing and branding purposes, opposed to making as much profit as designers used to when they were only selling wholesale. Does the 5 or 10% cushion also factor in the marker making and the grading? So again, the marker making and the grading is in that cost of doing business. So like I said earlier, let's say it's $200 pattern, $200 sample, $200 to grade your patterns. That's all going to be in that cost of doing business. So that will work out. You'll be able to see how many pieces you have to make in order to cover the cost of those garments. But then again, remember, if you're selling retail, you're selling direct to customer, you're getting this $127 profit opposed to just the $63 of the wholesale. What is the approximate investment needed to develop a line of 5 designs and produce 200 of each design for quality garments at approximately $225 retail price? Okay, so what is the approximate investment needed to develop a line of 5 designs? And so usually, so this is a tough question. Like I said, I do those strategy sessions, so you can contact me at vmora.com and set up a 20-minute strategy session to get something that's really specific to what you're looking for. However, just for, you know, ballparking, I can definitely give you some numbers. So for 5 designs, you've got to do your pattern, your sample, your fitting, your pattern, your prototype, your fitting, pattern alterations, final sample, digitize, grade, and a photo shoot. So you've got to do these 7 steps per style. So per style, I would estimate about $3,000 for the development to include all of those steps. And that's just like a generalized, obviously if you're doing a t-shirt, the pattern's going to be less than if you're doing evening wear. But in general, you'll want to budget around $3,000 per style. And then to produce 200 of each design for quality garments. So that's where it gets sticky because I don't know what you're producing. So if you're doing, McKenna, what kind of garments are you making? But, you know, let's say that you've got 200 garments and it's going to cost you $30 to make each garment. That's $6,000. Linen, resort, wear, classic silhouettes. Okay, so I estimated $30 in there for the cut and sew, and that's putting us at $6,000. So we've got $6,000 plus the $15,000 because you've got 5 styles. I'm just using my calculator here. So 5 styles at $3,000 each would be $15,000 plus the $6,000 for production is going to put you at $21,000. So $21,000 for the investment for the development, and then to make 200 units at $30 a unit. And now, so that's $21,000 for you to be investing. And if you're going to sell these garments at $225, this is the number that I like to pay attention to, and you've got 200 units, you'll see you'll get $45,000 back from that. So always, 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 when you're looking at the money spent, look at the money that's going to be returned. Because yes, $21,000 sounds like a huge investment, but if you're going to sell 200 garments at $225, you're going to get $45,000 back, which will then also be including in that $225 the cost of doing business. So this is going into, you know, all of the budgeting, but it's hand in hand. Your costing and your budgeting go in together. Is photo shoot included in the cost of doing business? Yes, so everything is included in your cost of doing business. However, if you look at this another way that you can look at this is your $127 is $42 of that. Here, I'm just going to bring this. So we have your total, we've got $127, and your total cost of your goods is $42. So on each garment, because you're selling retail, you're profiting $84. So that $84 also covers the cost of doing business. So the 5%, because people are now doing retail, doesn't have to cover all of your cost of doing business because you're selling retail. Does that make sense? So there's some different ways that you can figure out the profit from each garment that you sell at $127. You are profiting $84. So technically you can take out the cost of doing business knowing that you're getting that profit in the retail. However, I don't want you to, because we want there to still be some cost of doing business in there, just in case someone comes to you, Amazon comes to you and they said, look, we see that you're selling your garment for $127. We want to buy it from you, but we're only going to pay $50. And you can go back and say, okay, well, at $50, that's $8 more than my cost of doing, or my total cost. Plus, I've got some cushions in there, and selling on Amazon would be really great because they're selling 10,000 orders. So I'm going to go ahead and take that deal because you have your numbers worked out properly. Does that make sense? But on most of your garments, great, yes. But on most of your garments, you're going to be making that $84 in profit. Perfect. Yes, so costings is really, really important. It's probably the least fun seminar that you guys have been on today, but we thought that it would be really important because you've got to figure out your costing from day one. How much are you going to spend on your fabric, and what is your retail price going to be? And you don't want to be in the dark about that, so that's why we thought it was important to add it into today's seminar, even though it's not as fun. And we're looking at an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of numbers in it, and it's not very pretty, but it's very, very important. It seems at least the first few years, the profit you would need to reinvest for the next production. Is that true? So yes. Again, I say, in my experience, it's usually 3 seasons. So for 3 seasons, you're taking that profit and you're reinvesting. So the first season, reinvest, and that's how much money you'll have to still develop. The second season, reinvest. And then by the 3rd season, hopefully you're able to make more of a profit and definitely start paying yourself. But you want to be prepared going in to have enough funding to see yourself through the first season and a half. Very informative. Thank you for including costing. If we don't have costing down, you won't be successful. Correct. If you don't get your costing worked out, then you won't be successful. So that is definitely why we added it today. And yeah, we ended it at the end of the day. So you guys are probably all really tired, but you'll get this all recorded. You have this template. If you guys have any questions for me, you can definitely set up a strategy session and we can go over it one-on-one. The recordings will be available. We're going to send those out on Monday. We'll have to edit them and like chop out the times that we were paused, things like that, but you'll get them on Monday. Yes, now you can go have a glass of wine. So today, you guys, this was so great. I'm so happy that you guys all joined. It was so informative. I loved the panel and everyone that we had speak. I just thought it was awesome. So I'm so grateful. I'm just like so happy that you guys are here. So before we pop off, do you guys have any more questions? I would love to hear some feedback. How can we all connect? Okay, you know what? For those of you that would like to connect together, because I'm great, I love community, I love connecting designers, please email me at anna@vmora.com, because I don't want to just give everyone's emails away, just in case you want to say anonymous. But if you email me, then I'll send an email connecting all of you guys together so that you have, sorry, and let me send this to everyone. So just give me an email and then I'll send an email with everyone so that you guys can be connected and talk about the seminar. And so informative. I learned a lot. Good. I'm so glad. And we're going to send out a questionnaire. We'd love to hear how we could improve the seminar. I'd love to continue doing this too. I think doing a monthly seminar would be super informative and you guys can learn a lot. So if you guys have other topics or other things that you'd like to hear from other designers or other things that you'd like to learn, please let us know. We'll send it all in a follow-up survey for you guys so that we can improve on these seminars. This was the first one that we did. It was just kind of like we winged it because we were all supposed to be at a trade show, and obviously we're not. So we were like, let's do it virtually. But it'll only get better from here if you guys give us some feedback of what you loved the most. What would you improve? Let's see. Is there anything you would recommend doing with excess inventory that didn't sell from a few years ago? So like Kia said, she took that sweatshirt and then they made it a crop and she sold out of it. Is there some way that you can alter it to make it more prevalent for today's market? Maybe you don't have to do anything at all. Maybe it was something that you were too early on the trend and now it's trending. If sales is within your branding story, maybe you can put it on sales. But also if you ever do any pop-up events or sample sales or, you know, booths for direct to sales. I mean, now no one's doing booths, but, you know, you can always sell that merchandise later, or, you know, at the very least, some of my designers will take the label out and then sell it to a third-party application that maybe sells secondhand stores or does like sample stores or whatever, but just figure out some way that you can make some money for it. Costing and Jane were my favorite seminars. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for holding. Thank you, Teresa. I wouldn't be able to attend this in person, so it's awesome that I was able to do it virtually and that you guys were all able to attend. Yeah, so we'd love to do more seminars. So I'm going to leave that up to you guys to give us some more topic ideas. What do you want to learn? What do you want to hear about? Yeah, the day did go by really fast. It was really fun. Yeah, it's been great. So anything that you guys would like to learn from here on out, please let us know. And thank you so much, you guys. This was so great. You'll be getting everything. I'm glad that you found the costing helpful. Like I said, it's like my least fun topic to do because it's not the creative stuff, but it's so important. And we've made it so easy with this template. All you have to do is plug in the numbers and then use it forever. So there you go. It's like this big hurdle that nobody wants to look at. And now we've given you the supplies to just make it easy. So you are so welcome. And if you guys have any questions, contact me. You'll get the recordings on Monday. You can all send out, or you can all set up strategy sessions to talk to me personally. Everyone here, Jane, Allison, Jay, if you need any of their contacts, please let us know. But they all offer strategy sessions, things like that. Miriam has a retail store and she'd be interested in helping designers test products. That's amazing, Miriam. So good. I love all of you guys. Okay, so everyone email me and then I'll send one email so that you guys all have each other's emails so that you guys can continue the conversation and that you guys can chat together. So this is amazing. Does anyone have any final thoughts or questions or things to add before we pop off for the day? No? All right. Perfect. All right, you guys, today was awesome. I'm so glad you guys are here. I hope you got a ton out of the seminars, and I hope to hear from all of you soon about our next seminars and what you'd like to hear, even if you have people that you'd like to host a seminar or people that you've heard spoke before, anything at all. Oh, and then Teresa's giving some feedback, so thank you. I'm going to make sure having someone on the presenters, the questions helps the presenter stay focused. Thank you. Yeah, I was unsure about the technology. This is my first Zoom seminar, so I think all in all, it went by pretty seamlessly. Yep, and it's being recorded. And yeah, we wanted to keep the price manageable so that it wasn't too expensive and that everyone could join, and that you know, it would be a way for you guys to be able to have access to all this information at a very accessible price. So, okay, perfect. Well, thank you guys so much, and I hope you had a great day. Have a wonderful weekend, and remember, I want you to do one thing for yourself, do some self-care. We had a long day, so much information. You guys did a lot today. So go check out, do something nice for yourself, have a wonderful weekend, and we'll follow up on Monday with those videos. So thank you so much. Bye, guys.